Good evening. There are growth forecasts being cut. There are protests in the street, and one member is leaving altogether. And that's just the start of the European Union's problems and difficulties. The British Prime Minister is about to leave today's summit of leaders taking place in Brussels. But it's important to note that while she's there, she's facing leaders who have all of their own agendas and their own individual problems. Join me over at the super screen and you'll see exactly what I mean. This is an overview of all the problems. Everything from Brexit to Ireland to rule of law in Hungary and government confidence in Poland. But if we narrow down on the big ones, if you like, well, first of all, the big issues at the moment. UK and Brexit. The UK is bearing the greatest weight of Brexit, even though the Irish are heavily involved as well. And Theresa May's appealing for help. Here she is at this is today's council meeting. But the warning from the British is, don't expect an immediate breakthrough. And just remember that deadline. Parliament is to vote by January the 21st. The Irish Prime Minister, the Taoiseach, says Brexit is hurting Europe. But he says it's up to Europe, it's up to the UK in all of this to find the solution.
I think there's one thing that's undeniable. All these difficulties that Europe now faces, not least Ireland, but all of Europe, we now face these difficulties because of a decision that the UK made to leave the European Union. That is the source of all these problems. We respect the decision that they've made, but it does mean that there's a special obligation on them now to come up with the solutions.
From Britain to France, where months of protests are boiling over. The government may be calling for a halt. The police are focused as well on a manhunt for a Strasbourg gunman, all of which creates difficulties for Emmanuel Macron. And in fact, it's noticeable that when Theresa May did her tour of Europe the other day, she didn't go to Paris, specifically because the difficulties already faced by the president. And then you get to Europe's largest economy. It's a leadership issue in Germany. Angela Merkel, the Chancellor, is handing over the party reins to Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, known as AKK. Now, she will be tasked with the job of holding the whole party together. But it's more serious than that, because Angela Merkel isn't seeking a new term, a re-election, as Chancellor, which begs the question, will AKK have the strength to take that particular role? And then you get to, one of Europe's largest economies. This time it's a budget issue in Italy, where Italy is barely avoiding EU sanctions. And in the last 48 hours has agreed to lower the proposed deficit, now 2.04% of GDP, under the Maastricht 3%. The issue here, of course, is whether they can actually keep that money or they can actually keep to that promise. If all of that wasn't enough, you've got the ECB today announcing it's turning off the monetary spigot. QE is coming to an end. Now, the ECB is also cutting forecasts. Mario Draghi, who, by the way, himself leaves office in October of next year, is warning of really very dark economic times ahead and the uncertainty.
The overall atmosphere has become one characterized by increased general uncertainty, which takes the shape now and then of different phenomena. And I think this is is at least considered by the Governing Council one of the reasons, so if not the main reason, for this weaker data.
Now, those are some of the problems. I want you to get your phones or your devices or whatever it is you happen to communicate with. Quill pen, if it'll do the trick. Go to cnn.com/join, and we're asking you which European country is in the most trouble. Is it the United Kingdom? Is it France or Germany? cnn.com/join, and you'll see the results building up on the screen. All of these are the issues. They are serious, they are deep, and most important, they are not easy to solve, which is